one of those great, like, it's the same thing as Amelia just brought up, right? Death Note is like a stylized version of that very thing. It's like he gets a book, and if he writes a name in the little journal, that person is killed, and he realizes that he has this power to kind of like prune humanity, and is kind of consumed by it. Starts out, I'm gonna destroy the poisoners and the rapers and the murderers and the rule breakers, and then
the rule breakers. Oh shit. If I look a special death. Isukov. What you want, bud?
I don't know how we thought on the societal scale pre-Abrahamic religion. I don't think it really does. And I certainly don't think Abrahamic religion was the first religion to like segment the population against itself and engage in magical thinking.
The ghost is up to 10 kills. That's what I've heard.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I know for at least when it comes to confirmation about the guy, he is real, but at least when it comes to the confirmed kills, that's still like kind of up in the air. He's definitely got 4 for sure, and I would honestly say probably 6 at this point. And if it's true with his actions on the first day, then he legit is an ace in a day. So if, you know, I'm like 90% sure it's a real person, but, you know, the off chance that he isn't, it's likely like 2 or 3 really good Ukrainian pilots that are kicking ass. So, if not one person, it's probably like 2 or 3. The ghosts of Kiev, I guess you could say. There's definitely at least 2 or 3 for sure, because when Ukrainian MiGs were flying around, there's always at least a pair of 2, at least in the videos I've seen so far, so they have a wingman with them. So if the Ghost Kiev is doing his thing, he's got a wingman with him. I'm pretty invested in the Legend of the Ghost. Same with the Ukrainian Reaper, too. He's another one.
I don't know, that's another thing.
When the Ukrainian military started getting snipers and different long-range weapon systems for small arms and shit by some of the West and shit, they started handing them off to some of their more best riflemen and some of their best marksmen, and the Ukrainian Reaper might potentially be one of those guys. Got like an M24 probably. M24 bolt action, most likely, because that's usually the standard rifle that most armed forces in the U.S. use. Or it could be one of, like the DMR, like maybe like a British semi-auto sniper rifle of some sort. I'm not like the biggest expert on military equipment, but I know a few things here and there. Oh, fuck, I need a new lighter. Shit.
I was in grade school. They considered it, and it really was. There's no real monetary value involved. But yeah, it was some kid who yelled butthurt because they lost their favorite marble or whatever, and they go crying.
Gonna take his baby lighter.
We're under strict rules not to bring marbles to school anymore. Did we ever stop bringing marbles to school? No. We just realized that we had to play them a little more, cautiously. Exclude certain people from the process. No whiny babies. You went to the teacher once with your marbles. You keep your marble collection. You never get to get a new marble. Nobody's gonna fucking.
Russian billionaires are getting upset at Putin for losing so much money. I could give a fuck about them. Yeah, let me cry about the plight of the Russian billionaire. I mean, I cry for the plight of the average Russian, but Russian billionaire, good. Those motherfuckers is what's been keeping the Russian people down for so long, along with Putin and being a fucking lapdog for them, so good.
When I was working at the school district, kids were not allowed to have like
internal division is a good thing. Yeah.
Cards or anything because of that.
Hence, oh, let me just cry, tears of sadness and empathy for that Russian billionaire. Oh,
marbles and
those Russian billionaires. Oh, let me just feel so sad for them.
until I was in high school. What about garbage pail kids? You wanna know? I had a lot of garbage pail kids, but everybody I knew that collected garbage pail kids collected them because they wanted to have them. And sometimes you would have extras, and I guess you would trade garbage pail kids, and there was probably some talk over that. Like a kid traded away a garbage pail kid, and they decided he wanted it back, and the other kid didn't want to give it back, didn't want to do the trade, and then wham.
Garbage pail kids. Oh my
I didn't
god.
really trade garbage pail kids, I just collected them. But they're definitely like a whole trading product. Do you think I'm too old for this cutoff started? I mean, one of the first things I remember feeling that way about just became like a big cultural phenomenon that even some of my like younger friends were into. So I feel like I was just born right on the edge of where it would have been acceptable for
The
me
boy.
to be involved in that. You know what I mean? Like, well, not acceptable, but like, you know,
Here, I'll do this real quick.
like a normal interest for me.
Yeah, since I'm here, might as well check out what updates been going on.
Or something? Why did Pokemon come out in 94, something like that?
Let's see. Where'd it go? There's that map.
SpongeBob
There we
was another cutoff, but I cut off before then. There was like a bunch of shows that came out when I was a teenager, like Cat Dog was one of them.
Oh, I barely remember that. Barely remember that show.
There's a bunch of them that I just started getting out of.
Come on, Live UA, man. Blow it up.
Quote in quote.
What the fuck?
I understand that there are such things as adult person. Interesting. Like Courage the Cowardly Dog. That was another one that came out that I was a kid.
Oh my fucking god, this stupid ad. Get out of here. And unable to connect to Live UA map servers. Fuck. It's doing that. No. Connect, you fuck. Come on. Come on.
All this stuff mentioned is the stuff I like and enjoy. Well, you know, this generation.
Damn. Live UA map servers are a little fucked right now.
Generation or so ahead of you.
Boo. Boo. It's also really fucking windy out here today.
I used to like them until Nickelodeon.
Fuck. Well, yeah, I guess Live UA map servers are offline right now.
What would you do?
I guess an interesting development from like about like 4 hours ago. Turkey has warned both Black Sea and non-Black Sea countries to not pass warships through the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits. 1936 Montreux Convention allows Turkey to limit naval transit of its straits during wartime. Basically implying that if there's a war going on that happens to be near like the Baltic, or not Baltic, the Black Sea, or a country that is in that area, happens to be in a conflict, and is, hey, Zukov! Hey! And it's like moving warships back and forth. Turkey has the legal justification without having to go to war or anything to stop ships. Zukov, shut up!
Like, I have no nostalgia for any of the things you guys are
You don't need to bark at every tiny little fucking thing, dude.
You have to go back farther to find nostalgia for me, you know?
Shut up.
You want to have a conversation with me where I might get a little animated and shit? Talk to me about some Ninja Turtles or some Mask or some G.I. Joe or some GoBots or some gummy bears, man. Bouncing here and there and everywhere. Still don't know that song.
Shut it.
Speed Racer? Not really. Speed Racer was out when I was a kid, obviously. It's like a late 70s, early 80s.
Man, that dog.
Oh, yeah. Inspector Gadget.
Ukraine has the potential to be a petroleum state with how much natural gas and shale oil they have. Yeah. It's also a part of the reason why Russia is kind of gun-ho about Ukraine, too. Resources. Shut up, Zukov! Seriously. It's just my fucking dad and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Police destroyed 2 Russian tanks in Derhachi and Kharkiv about 4 hours ago. Actually, I remember seeing something, oh yeah, here it is, 5 hours ago. The mayor of Kupiansk is arrested, apparently for high treason. So, Kupiansk is a city or a small town that's kind of on the outskirts near Sumy. To kind of, well, actually, it's east of Kharkiv, and there's like a little bit of a Russian front line near Kupiansk, and apparently the mayor there was, I guess, a saboteur or a traitor, so he's been arrested for high treason and shit. They don't want Ukraine to supplant them as U.S. energy suppliers. And also, they want to make sure they have that territory for military dominance when it comes to fucking NATO and their fucking military pact. So, typical imperialist bullshit through and through. And the map isn't actually updating that much. It doesn't even show like the front lines of where they were in right now. Shows some of the updates, but I guess a lot of people are probably using the map at the moment. Or using the app, and yeah, the live universal awareness map is being hella fucking slowed right now. So, I mean, it's in the middle of the night. It's like fucking 1 in the morning or some shit over there, so it's not like anything's really gonna be happening. Yeah, it's still having these surfer troubles. I mean, the live UA map could also probably be getting hit with Russian cyber attacks too. I know I'm following this one Telegram channel, Pravda Gerashenko, and they've been uploading all sorts of different videos of, you know, stuff on the front, amongst other things too. I can't read anything that is being posted in their comments or anything like that because it's all in Ukrainian. But I mean, I can at least kind of watch the videos to kind of get an idea about what's happening. I just saw a video of what looked like maybe in Italy, a rally that was going on in Ukraine for Ukrainians and shit. That was pretty cool. Oh, here it is. I found it. Here it is. It's this video. She gave us a kiss! I love it. Man, it looks like a party. And I'm thinking it might be either, I mean, it could be Britain because I'm seeing British flags, but I see an Italian one over there, so I think it's just somewhere in Europe probably. So there, yeah, dude. It's good shit like that, man. So many people, like, all over the world have been doing shit like this. I mean, so many people have been, you know, doing these type of things in solidarity. It's really great. What's this? Looks like a video on the front line. It looks like it's an okay video to look at. Oh, this guy's on a tank. I'm assuming a Ukrainian BMP or something like that. Here. Is this a civilian? Hold on, is this a civilian? Like, hold up. Like, is this a civilian? because look what he's wearing.
I had a lot more go off.
He's wearing like some red shoes, like some just jeans, and like a gray sweater of some sort. Like, this guy's a civilian. Like, did civilians like capture a Russian tank or something and commandeer it? Oh, was this the thing that my friend Stefan was talking about last night? He said that some Ukrainian farmers commandeered a Russian tank and shit. Some like two Ukrainian farmers commandeered a tank, and this might be it. This might be the video, because it looks like farmland. You got a guy driving it, and you got a guy on top of it. Two people. It's a tank or an armored vehicle, and they're in civilian clothing. I mean, dude, these like I think this might be the thing that my friend was talking about. I love it. Hey, the recaptured tank, comrade. Let's go drive around and have fun with it. And there was also another Ukrainian farmer that connected a Russian BMP or BTR and tied it to his tractor and literally started taking it home with him. So it's like, these Ukrainians don't give a fuck a little bit. Like, some of the citizens are just like, oh, hey, I can use this potentially for my farm. Let me take this. Yoink. I don't know what a Ukrainian farmer wants to do with a BTR or a, a BMP, but, hey, more power to them as far as I'm concerned. I mean, thinking about it, they could probably salvage it up and use it, for like farm work and stuff, or shit like that probably. So, I mean, honestly, you could reconvert military equipment like that into, farming equipment and work equipment. Honestly, a good chunk of military vehicles are mostly work equipment anyway, for like, like making bridges and setting up like little temporary, field base of operations and shit like that. Use it to drive fast food. I think it would cost more to literally get the fast food than buy the fast food if you did that. I don't think it'd be worth it. I've seen people using APCs at drive-thrus. Oh my god. Well, it's not like necessarily prevalent information, but Green Day is canceling their Moscow concert due to the whole conflict going on in the Russia-Ukrainian war. Again, it's not exactly the most important prevalent information, but it's a little interesting little development, I guess. Like, a lot of the Russian economy is just getting so fucked. Oh shit, in T-80 UK Russian tank spotted in the Belgorod region. There's actually a little video of this. Hold on, let me do this real quick. There we go. Whoa. That looks mean. That's BMP. There's another T-80 right there. Yeah, man, look at that armor. Yeah, that's a lot. That's more modern armor for sure. This is a lot more of a modernized tank. I don't know what year these came out, but these are definitely modern. Oh wow, hold up. Here, let's see if we can get a video. Oh, that one doesn't have it. That one does. Oh, shit, fuck. Oh wait, this one does too. That looks like a... Either that looks like where a machine gun would go for the top turn, or that's where like a Tau missile system would be on. Like a little like Tau rocket on the top of it. Yeah, that one has a Dishka. It might be for Tau rocket systems, because these ones have Dishka machine guns, and they're a lot more different looking. Man, this is a huge fucking convoy. It keeps going on, too. It kept going on. Man, that's a fat convoy. That's pretty big. I mean, considering the Ukrainian forces, I'm not exactly like too worried about them, considering how well they've been, doing so far. So we'll see. We'll see how much of a punch they actually got. Could just be a paper tiger tank, though. Damn. So Kaiser Cat Cinema apparently has like some of their like community and crew members of their production company and shit literally in fucking Ukraine. KCC crew members are hiding in shelters, others in community are literally fighting at the front lines, and I'm sitting here thinking, how in the fuck do we get in this ass backwards world? It keeps going on and all that shit. Looks like he's also set up a little fundraiser too at his little shop. Yeah, buddy. Yes?
Way longer than one.
Can I help you? Ukraine's not lost yet. No, of course not. If anything, I mean, like I've been saying, they've been making some counteroffensives in certain areas too. Actually, I mean, I wish the live VOA map would update already, goddammit, because I could show you some of the updates on the front lines too when it comes to regions they've captured and what they haven't. They mean the Russian forces, at least in this case. Because at least just north of Crimea, near Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, it looks like that's where most of their gains have been at this point. But pretty much everywhere else has been mostly stagnant, aside from a little bit of progress made here and there, but not much.
It said people
oh my god!
Have a 50% lower chance of winning the battle.
Who gives a fuck? Go fuck yourself. What a random ad! What the fuck was that even? Yeah, servers are just straight up down because they're not wanting to update at all. And I'm getting more ads than updates. So it's starting to become a more frustrating, more than actually, hopeful here. Because I'd like to show what some of the stuff has been, but it won't show me. And apparently the Russian forces occupied a town that has a chocolate factory in it, and they made that an FOB. They made a chocolate factory a forward base of operations. It's just like, what the fuck? I mean, I guess it's actually not a bad spot. I mean, it is a factory. I mean, you got like this big kind of, multiple warehouse like rooms and shit that you just set shit up in. So, I mean, it makes sense, but I just kind of find it a little amusing that it's a chocolate factory. It's like, what will we have our FOB here, comrade? We'll have a little bit of chocolate. Make chocolate for ourselves here, though. It's like, oh my god. Come on, live UA map. Come on. You only have to work for like 3 minutes. That's all I give a fuck. Come on. Man, it's just Now I'll just have to check it later, I guess. Took off. You see, baby. Up.
And there's a quote from him that like you could just pull up and defeat any anti-drug organization. He talks about just very frankly, it's a direct quote. He says the whole idea was with the drug war was to target demonstrators. So you claimed that the demonstrators, potheads, or and you claimed that black people were heroin heads.
Crackheads and
made
shit.
up a bunch of lies about how destructive these drugs
Talk
were.
about Nixon's drug war
in the communities. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Yes.
Some tells me that exchange will go down in history. It already did. You talk about Snake Island because that already
The
did.
whole drug war came about as a result of the racial and anti-war protests that were happening during Nixon's administration with the Vietnam War as a platform. And so they literally came up with a bunch of rules and regulations, a lot of which are still in effect to today. To this day, you still hear law enforcement agencies talk about how they're prosecuting the war on drugs. It's still a political football that gets kicked back and forth. The war on drugs, the war on drugs.
Fucking war on drugs.
Literally,
Gotta love it.
the architect of the war on drugs is on record saying this has nothing to do with drugs.
Especially in America, we're like such a weird fucking like gun-ho war nation and shit at this point. Even with the like weird half-ass like, oh, I'm against it. I mean, I was telling my friends about like some of the developments that were happening in Belarus, and they were just like, we need to crush Belarus. We need to like, like invade them and blah blah blah. And it's just like, what the fuck? It's like if World War III starts, it'll be because of Belarus now. It's just like at this point, it's just like, what type of retard take is this? Like, what literal, actual monkey take is that? Like, it's just like people, especially when it comes to like wartime, just get like become just fucking apes. It's just so stupid and beyond irrational. It's just like, do they obviously aren't keeping tabs about this type of shit. Because if they understand some of the nuance about the shit, Belarusian military forces are under the Russian command. Like, the nation of Belarus isn't even commanding their troops. So what the fuck do they have to do about it? Aside from just being a vassal state, but America's got their own. So it's like, we're really gonna fucking decry Russia for having their own little vassal state that happens to be next to them. It's like, maybe you should start criticizing us for having vassal states, before freaking out about that shit when it comes to conflicts like this. Like, dead ass. Like, that's, one thing I'll definitely fucking, say. You gonna bitch about Belarus being a vassal state and how we need to do something about that? It's just like, do something about the vassal states we control, bitch. You actually have some power being a citizen in this country, let alone over there. It's like, give me a break. Because now there's like a Belarusian air assault brigade that's going to try to cut off supplies from the Polish-Ukrainian border by occupying some of the villages and the towns that are near that border. And it's just like, that's because the Russian high command is commanding those troops to do that. Like, that's why. Like, what the fuck do you think? Like, even before this started with the military exercises prior to invasion, like, the Belarusian military went under Russian military command and is taking orders from Russia, as the Belarusian state is just period. And then, like, one of my friends was like, we need to starve Belarus. And it's like, it's just even more this like ape mentality. It's just like what in the fuck does like Belarus have to do with this shit? They're literally are forced into this. Like honestly, even more so than the fucking Russians. And also, it's just like it's like they're far more restrictive when it comes to things like internet access. So it's just like, I mean, what type of like the venom seriously can be sent to them? Like when you actually do look at it, there isn't any. Aside to Lukashenko and his vassal state, but that's not Belarus as far as I'm concerned, or I guess the Belarusian people. We should be more specific.
Food stamps.
So.
SSI led to food stamps. So Nixon's presidency didn't necessarily establish food stamps, but they paved the road for food stamps. So you see, like, it's very strange. You never hear people talk about those things about Nixon.
Apes together strong.
Sukov, come on.
Sukov.
Out of the way, out of the way.
Come here.
Create the school lunch program. Yep. He was a cook. No, he was a cook. He was a trader. Like not just like in hyperbole. He was a literal trader.
Sukov, get back here. Sukov. His own version, the CTS, of course, is more of a hegemony than an alliance, but still, well, yeah. Because NATO didn't dissolve during the dissolvement of the Warsaw Pact, the new Russian government over time eventually formed the CTSO. So, just one of those little precedent-setting things that could have been done, about during the initial dissolution of the USSR that just wasn't done. Just wanted to make sure it kept its massive imperialistic hegemony and power, but as long as the other enemy tribalistic, other mucky military imperial tribe is, not in power, that's okay. Can't have, like, a common agreement and, both of us, like monkey tribes, fucking stand down. We can't do that. We still have to be the big bad ape.
Very odd, flawed individual.
Can we all get along? That's what I'm saying. Like, evolve away, from our stupid, like, tribalistic monkey brain. And actually, like, And also just because I was like going back and forth with my friends too earlier about this shit and mentioning and then mentioning the
Then Bandit comes in and makes mighty little kitty feet off.
Oh, right. But so like I was talking to my friends about this shit and like saying the whole like fucking like about how like this type of mentality is just fucking ape brain mentality and shit. And like one of my buddies was like, oh well, like saying it a couple times, saying like this ape stuff is it's like fine once or twice, but now it's just getting offensive, dude. It's just like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like you're all literally saying we need to like smash a fucking country and smash a people because they happen to be forced into a position that they can't even choose. Like, and I'm being the offensive one. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, seriously. Like, I'm the offensive one for calling out your fucking monkey brain about it. It's like, sorry. Like, evolve away from our more tribalistic chimp brain. I probably won't be calling it out so much. We all got it. I'm guilty of it too. I call myself out when I try. Or when I at least notice it. Because it's bullshit and it's a fucking poison. Same thing with like all these other like lefty types that are like kind of celebratory, in some way or another about like action happening or Russian soldiers being killed into conflict and shit like that, or Belarusian troops too, for that matter as well. It's just like it really. Like, let's celebrate the fact that there's, like, Ukraine ain't getting literally, like, slaughtered and bombed to shit. And there's not as much bloodshed as, honestly, that I was personally anticipating. I thought it was honestly going to be more bloodier than this, and I'm glad that it hasn't really. All things considered. But it's, like, let's celebrate that type of shit. Let's not celebrate, like, yeah, these people are, invading, but they're dying left and right. Base, dude. It's like, what? If Trump's take Ukraine never would have happened under me. I think it would have happened under Trump and Trump with Star Wars 3. It would have happened under him. I don't think he. I'm not too sure about he would have started it idea. But yeah, it would have happened under his watch too, because Russia was building up to do this for a while. Like, even during his administration, they were doing shit. But because they haven't, like, annexed or invaded another country or whatever the fuck, apparently he's like, I did it. I did it. Tremendous. It's like, sure. Okay. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, try shooting up that copper pipe.
Fuck?
And that's where that went. Looking for that.
Puke near the throat. Sit near the tree. Okay, just say, oh my god. Jesus Christ. I mean, the strongmen tend to attract other strongmen. Like, strongmen, as much as there are like these weird prideful motherfuckers that want to be like the biggest, baddest strongman out of all of them, they attract each other. And there's like something about like, one of them being a little bit more prideful or a little bit more of a strongman that, makes other ones kind of respect him to a certain extent. So, that's why. Trump sure loves a strong man. Oh yeah, he does. He definitely does.
And he died right there. Thanks for that written in Vietnam. Why is NATO not intervening in your suffering love life? I don't know, man. If there's anything that needs an intervention, it's that.
Damn.
We need a NATO coalition to get Bright Sky. Come on, guys. Where you at, NATO? Where you at?
We need to fix this love life, man. I was about to call Sukov, but I hear him over there.
Basin Street Blues. No, not really. I mean, there are movies that are definitely emotionally gripping.
Trump says he still sucks to Kim Jong-un. Yeah. He has had a few from what I understood.
War sucks, bro. Crazy, gross, disgusting, destructive, generationally destructive things happen in war, which is why I oppose it at every turn.
True. Exactly. But now we just gotta starve them out. Fuck 'em. Meh. Thag don't like bad tribe. Starve out enemy tribe. Fosh. I actually wasn't referring to Vosh there.
And I haven't heard a single person mention it in my chat. All I've heard is updates on things that are happening, you know, combat zones and things that happened yesterday.
Do this like Vosh. I mean, I dislike his takes on this
I
shit.
don't hear anybody talking about how peace walks are starting today.
I definitely don't like, you know, how he has a little bit more of this kind of gleeful thing about, you know, Ukraine's, you know, not just, you know, repelling the attacks, but also being able to, you know, kill these Russian soldiers and shit, which is just a part of fucking war. Like, obviously that's just gonna happen, but it's like, doesn't necessarily have to be something to be celebrated or be like, oh, yeah, base, dude. So yeah, at least when it comes to this type of shit, the whole Ukrainian conflict, like, I very vehemently dislike, you know, his positions about it.
It's just not being covered rapidly 24/7, 365 with live updates and favorite commentators. I don't think anyone held out much hope for the talks, but I was well aware of them and heard no results about results. Okay, yeah. Well, hopefully they're not done, but the briefness of the talks, I think, implies that as oftentimes, you know, a brief jury deliberation implies, you know, the guilt of the defendant. Not always, but it implies that. I would say that, you know, it's probably safe to say that a brief peace summit that began and ended in a single day over the course of several hours probably didn't.
Oh, right here, the Russians going home, they're banning Ukraine. Yeah.
And I'll have to look into this, to be quite honest with you. I haven't, you know,
Still Severgrad, yeah. Well, the reason why a lot of these different soldiers, you know, are not, like, turning back, so to speak, is because a lot of them were legit straight up lied to. And, you know, we're told they were going to be having military exercises, and by the time they actually did go to the front lines and realize what they were doing, they were told that if they didn't actually go out and fight and shit, they would basically either be considered traitors to the state and or shot. So it's like they literally didn't have a fucking choice, you know, and that type of shit.
Too much money to be.
I mean, that's, again, just more of the fucked up shit about this type of stuff. Rioted in a military base to refusal to invade Ukraine. Yeah, I heard about that too. Which just shows how much of, you know, the sentiment against this war, period, in general, is really strong. And I do wish that, you know, more people would talk about those things, especially when they actually come out as confirmed reports. Because, I mean, one thing that I found pretty fucking damning is there's been more fucking Russians you know, there's been more Russians that have been arrested, you know, doing anti-war protests versus versus casualties in the conflict.
There's no political will to do it. It's all been war, and you see how.
I don't think Vince is a bad guy. Well, I don't think he's a bad guy either, so to speak.
Leftists have lined up behind.
I do think in a lot of ways he has bad takes, but I don't think he himself is a bad guy.
Where's the internal pressure in the United States against the media narrative and against the United States State Department narrative and the NATO narrative that, you know, escalation and bellicose talk is, you know, not doing it. Like, where is that? Where's the call-outs of the just giant?
I think Simside's an underdog. Well, I mean, I do too. I mean, I think most people do. I mean, it's not, I don't really think that's, you know, the problem. In fact, I mean, that's really far from it. I mean, especially in this specific, you know, conflict and shit, you know, like, yeah.
Can you imagine Joe Biden sitting across from Black Putin?
I can't even say that about TJ. I'm a lot fan of TJ. I mean, I'd say that about TJ too. I mean, I know I probably haven't watched him as long as you have, but I mean, there's been a lot of different streams where he's, you know, I think genuinely have come out and say what he personally thinks about shit. I think in some ways he has to kind of, like, neuter some of it just because of, like, maybe TOS sake.
But, you can't dodge responsibility.
Thought that about TJ a few times. I mean,
we're at a time where we're on
I mean, on certain things that he has said and shit, I know when he's, like, trolling a little bit, like with his whole, like, bicycle take, for example, which, I mean, you know, just, like, anyone who would make those takes generally is going to irk me, but that's kind of why he does it.
This is about cyclical lesser of two evils voting. And this is the outcrop.
TJ's a bit of a grifter, but I think he's mostly honest.
Really
Well,
bad
well, yeah. I mean, he is, but he's honest about it. I mean, that's why I think he's genuinely honest, because he's honest about, like, yeah, I'm kind of grifting because, yeah, I need money.
Because we don't have a diplomat.
Not even mean about being
We don't
serious.
have a chief diplomat.
I mean, yeah, you are being, yeah, I know you're being serious. I mean, everyone knows, like, anyone who follows TJ at this point, knows about that. The whole, like, RV trip that, was promised all the way back then is still a meme. Like, some people will be like, oh, the talent show is going to be the RV trip 2.0.
Chief diplomat of the United States.
No one cares at this point, though. Well, yeah, because, I mean, that was well over a decade ago at this point. I mean, it's just like, TJ, at least to a certain extent, isn't necessarily the same TJ back then. I mean, that's why there's a whole meme of 2011 TJ versus TJ now and all that shit.
From Zelensky and Putin in multilateral peace talks right now. But he can't. He's incapable. So I completely disagree with that. Biden's ass should be the one that's in there. It's his job constitutionally to be the one that's in there. We're on the brink of a possible nuclear war. And we have a chief diplomat that is too mentally addled to sit down and talk about it.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. No, don't bring that up.
It's going to sound like this justification that we've used for voting for people that we know are warmongering pieces of shit. It's starting to wear thin around the edges, isn't it? Uh-oh. Let's think about that, though. Let's not think about the
I mean, it has been for me
conglomerate,
quite a while.
pattern-based lesser of two evils voting and where it's led us. Let's think about just the last one. Trump was the worst.
What's up, Zooks?
Maybe. I think Trump maybe would have actually been able to sit in the room with Putin. He probably would have been charmed by Putin. But at least he would have been able to, be there. Where's Biden? Where's he at?
DC, I think.
Applesauce. Napping while watching the fucking soaps or whatever.
What's up, boy?
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and I get called every name in the book for saying, hey, maybe we should do things a little different. Maybe voting shouldn't be about who's the least offensive despot.
Just staring at me, bro.
Oh, call me crazy.
It's like, damn.
And Kamala Harris is supposed to be an arm of that. If the president is the chief diplomat, then the vice
She's just going to tell the Russians and Ukrainians to just do not come.
Vice president.
Do not come. I guess in a way that actually probably would be a like a reasonable statement to be telling them. Do not come here. Turn back.
Has led us to a place where we're sitting teetering on the edge of nuclear war, probably the most dangerous time to the world since the Cuban Missile Crisis. But the difference is that we don't have a young, vibrant, intelligent president who's capable of sitting across.
I actually remember, I think there's a few videos of it out there at this point, but there's like audio of JFK who's straight up, that's straight up in, where he will talk to past presidents. I think he's like talked to Eisenhower about like, when it comes to like certain situations like the missile crisis or Vietnam and different shit like that. Even like furniture, out of all things, too. Like, I mean, so he like. I don't really hear too much about that either, being like, hey, I need some advice. We should send Vosh to fight Russia. I mean, there's a foreign volunteer legion, I mean, and if he wants to, I guess. The closest Ukrainian consulate / embassy is in San Francisco, so at least when it comes to the West Coast. One of my friends, I'm sure, is not being serious about it, but I oversaw one of his texts and saying, it's like, man, I'm even like tempted to go out there and help fight and stuff. Whoa, but it's like, no, you're not.
He was engaged in high-level important.
Like, if you were gonna do that, you would have done it already. Like, let's be honest.
And handle the interests of the United States. Here we are. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about what a tragic diplomatic failure this is. And continues. Nobody's talking about the fact that maybe it's problematic that our two chief diplomats are completely incapable people for different reasons. Joe Biden just doesn't have the stuff anymore. He's just too old. Maybe like 30, 40 years ago, the fucking...
If I could afford the trip, it was a bit of a coward, I'd volunteer.
For diplomacy, but
Well, I mean,
and Kamala Harris just isn't...
I wouldn't just because, I mean...
She doesn't have the personal acumen or the...
what could what little me do, for one? I mean, I guess, one extra person for manpower is better than, none at all, but still, it's just like, there's, language barrier issues, there's, legit, military hardware that I'm definitely not familiar with. There's just a lot of shit that, I'm assuming, and obviously, people being sent there into the Foreign Legion would actually be helped and trained on these different things, but still, it's just like, or at least have a general understanding about these things, but, I mean, there's just going to be barriers, especially, that are implied with these things that don't necessarily make it easier. One man's ghost, you could be the next ghost, implying if the dude's real too, which is likely probably, but but I got my own obligations here.
You know that if diplomacy failed during the Cuban Missile Crisis, we would all be in a radiated house right now.
I mean, if I didn't have obligations and legit got, nothing going on in my life concurrently, I mean, maybe I might have different thoughts about it, but even a non-combat role, you could cook meals for the baby women fine. True. I mean, yeah. Be more, kind of just, be more of a able-bodied assistant in, Kiev or some shit. Or, one of the towns or whatever. The problem is, though, the hypothetical scenario, if I get captured, especially being an American, that's bad. That's not good. So, it's just if it's very likely it would legit be a one-way trip.
To the continuation of those sorts of conflicts during the Clinton years, and even in the area that we're talking about. I do. Guys, remember what a tragic failure that was? I do. A lot of people don't seem to remember that, though. And then, of course,
Kosovo.
we even need to mention George W. Bush and his bomb first, ask questions later diplomacy that is carried on
to today.
The Russian upfront demands were super heavy in this case. I don't think Putin was interested in diplomacy once those 150K troops were in place. It's like saying I don't think Khrushchev was for diplomacy once those missile bases in Cuba were in place. You're lucky that he was. And you're lucky that there was a talented and competent diplomat.
I mean, at this point, there isn't even...
a failure on whose part? It was a failure of the people that lived in that place. Do you have any idea what kind of brutality happened?
Honestly, the shit that happened out in Kosovo and shit was quite literally insane. There was, genocides, war crimes, just, done just, as a casual Tuesday type of event.
Sufferers in war are the people who were there. The human beings that live in those countries. Those are the people that suffer in the war. And the soldiers that are sent to fight and die in them.
I'm gonna see if Live UA map is doing good.
Sure.
Let me just kind of turn it a little bit down in case there's an ad.
You understand the utter and complete...
Still loading.
Around my age. I think you're
Server still might be down.
If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But you know, you've watched the death of the anti-war left. You know the history of the you know, Vietnam War protest movements.
Yeah, they still are offline. Fuck. Stupid ads. Shut up, man. Boo.
You know how they just slowly but surely faded away until now that you can't find an anti-war leftist. You
Come
can't
on.
find somebody saying give peace a chance. You can't find somebody even giving commentary on the fucking horrible diplomatic failure that's gone on every side of this.
I mean, also, there's been, like, different people, like, you know, Zan and shit, who are just, like, you know, like we were saying from earlier, who are, like,
I'm saying, why
think it's,
all
like,
the coverage? Just
cringe that there isn't anything happening because things are quiet and shit. It's just like, what?
war, and not like where the diplomats at? Why
Yeah,
is
servers
Joe
are still
Biden
offline.
Doing his job for the American people, and maybe we should invoke some fucking constitutional amendments here. If we've got literally a president, and correct me if I'm wrong, that cannot do what his primary job is, isn't that 100% reason for us to remove him from office and replace him with somebody who doesn't?
Probably.
He can't do it. He can't be a diplomat.
Ugh, man. The state affairs in this country are so fucked.
On a
Just because, especially with the doddering old son of a bitch that, you know, we got now. Considering how much of a fucking warmonger he is, too.
He's an old man. He doesn't have this stuff. So why are we
Senile, getting more and more dementia-addled by the fucking day.
talking about it? Diplomacy wasn't whatever. Diplomacy. Russia's not going to move anywhere. Man, it's a good thing that the people that were saying that back in the 50s were wrong. It's a good thing the war hawks and the people that didn't believe in the power of diplomacy back in the 50s were wrong. Because we'd be living all Fallout style. It's Three Dog. Giving you the 5 people.
I mean, who knows? We might get that Fallout world after all.
Nobody ever wants to talk about the underlying causes of these conflicts. Everyone wants you to
Come up
put
here.
a Ukrainian flag in your profile and cheer for Russian troops getting shit and blown up. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because that's easier than actually, you know, calling for your chief diplomat to do his job. When you were the one that installed him in the first place, it's kind of hard to go like, man, dude, why do we have such a fucking shitty diplomat when you voted for him and really pushed for him? You know what I mean? Think about that. Like, did you really honestly believe that a lot of the people that were, you know, talking about like, let's bully Biden, did you really honestly believe that was going to happen? That's not what happened. People vote for, and then now their ego is wrapped up in the election of this person, and they can't insinuate that, like, oh my god, this person's utterly incapable. It's way easier to just go war.
I mean, it legit is just a lot more easier to kind of fall in line with the general state narrative of the situation versus actually, you know,
Most people were anti-war.
just staying principled with the whole anti-war position.
If most people were anti-war, they'd be talking a lot more about diplomacy and a lot less about Russian soldiers being killed and Ukrainian soldiers being killed and
Belarusian soldiers being killed too, or starving out these countries or whatever the fuck.
or first part of your sentence. But that
At least, you know, like, I will say, at least my coworkers definitely have a different tune about it. They just don't want this shit escalating, period. They definitely, you know, there are definitely people, you know, even within my own circle that are still principally anti-war to a degree.
How many years?
Maybe not as vocal, but still are.
Engage in multilateral peace talks. How many years? The whole Trump administration, and now a good, you know, close to 2/3 of the Biden administration. So we've almost had, 8 years worth of being completely exposed by having somebody that is completely and utterly mentally challenged in the presidency. And that's on us. That's on the people that vote.
And it's like, maybe we should have, like, some more stricter mental criteria and age criteria when it comes to holding office.
Of our political system by money.
Because especially when it comes to governmental positions like that, like, I mean, fuck this whole, like, you know, ageist thing or whatever the fuck. It's just like, no, Like, that's a specific type of role that requires a very specific toned mindset. Like, that, you know, we, like, some old-ass geezer who's, like, legit, like, lost half their senses is, you know, like, fucking Biden is not achieve. Or Trump, too, for that matter.
Biden failed in this situation by increasing U.S. reliance on Russian oil last year by banning Canadian oil imports. I'm sure that played a role. I mean, oil was definitely at the root of this.
So Ukraine has that and natural gas.
On the part of Russia, but what do you think this geopolitical position is about?
Like, that's why some oil fields have been targeted and shit as well. Actually, there was an oil field, like, somewhat southwest of Kiev 2 nights ago, I think, that was burning and shit. It actually made the air temporarily in Kiev, like, hazardous to even go outside. It was at, like, 600 and something parts per million, and it kind of fluctuated around there, like 580, 616, somewhere around there for like an hour or two. And then once the fire crews start taking out the oil fires and shit, the toxicity in the air started going down because of it. So luckily it was only for a little short while, but still. And also it was probably an attempt to maybe try to, like, snuff out some of the people and, you know, fuck their health up a little bit indirectly. So probably could have been multiple reasons, but it definitely helps falter and halt a lot of the oil production and shit in Ukraine.
Has wanted Ukraine for decades, right? I'm not trying to assign, like, blame here necessarily, but I'm not trying to abdicate people's blame either. If you honestly believe that NATO and the United States is the crown jewel of NATO, right? So let's just call it what it is. The United States and its allies' insistence on building military installations, like basically surrounding Russia, and our bellicose way of dealing with them diplomatically. If you're going to say that that has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on, I'm going to call bullshit. The U.S. doing a coup in 2014 probably didn't help. Probably not. Nope, but make another post like that and you might, uh-oh, somebody's in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Somebody's in trouble.
What's up, bro?
Don't be having side conversations up in here. This is not, you know, we're talking about a topic here. If you're not on topic, then get off of whatever you're on and shut up. They're nuclear power. They are under no existential threat. What?
Huh? Who?
What?
What?
Then why did we get all our panties all in a bunch when they built a military, a missile base and a bunch of missile bases actually in Cuba?
Yeah, what?
What is that problem? It just seems like historicity doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, now that they're kind of putting nuclear forces on high alert, like, yeah, they're what? Like,
We had a commensurate
they are under no existential threat. It's like, yeah, they, what? Oh my god, what a take. Holy shit.
Mutually assured
Whoa.
destruction, and we were on the brink of it. It was like that far. And you know this. I know you know this. What are you talking about? You have nothing to fear. You have nothing to fear. Like this is honestly.
Oh my god, what a zinger of a take.
It's like I really honestly believe, I don't know where you live in the United States, but if you're close to any border, I honestly believe that if that border was dotted with a Russia-Chinese coalition missile bases and soldiers and shit, I think you'd probably whistle a different tune.
I know I would, considering where Portland is, with, like, Alaska, Canada, and shit.
Instead of a, you know,
I mean, it's like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be singing a nice giggity tune and be like, oh yeah, that's fine. Because literally, no, it's not.
You don't think that that's provoking, like, at all? You don't think that that constitutes a provocation? Then what was the Cuban Missile Crisis about? The Cuban Missile Crisis was about America not wanting to be surrounded with hostile military bases.
Which was a response to us doing that in Turkey.
Base 100 miles off of our fucking southern shore.
So it's like,
I understand that. but you can't see it from a Russian perspective. Take the Cuban Missile Crisis and multiply it by 10 in terms of how many hostile military forces. There are no missiles in those countries?
I mean, if not, they definitely are now.
The missiles that are in those countries are not nukes. They're meant to shoot down nukes. They're meant to give the United States an advantage if and when it comes to that.
Which honestly, it's a good thing that anti-nuke defense systems exist.
Yes, no, them having a base was the issue. And them having nukes exacerbated that issue. Are you saying there's no hostile nuclear powers in Europe? Hostile in terms of, being part of NATO? France has nukes.
England has
Germany
nukes.
Probably doesn't have nukes.
I don't know. I don't think they do.
Spain? Huh?
I mean, they definitely do.
Nuclear powers in Europe. NATO countries. What are you talking about?
I don't know what Turkey does, but I know they definitely got like a lot of defense systems and are a part of this whole conflict too, with NATO. But Britain and France certainly do, because they also had nuclear tests themselves back in the 50s and 60s.
Who are the nuclear powers in Europe? So France, I was correct about.
Britain.
Spain doesn't get a nuke. Okay, who else gets them? Who else has them? Britain.
In the UK. I think it's just those two. Britain and France.
So it's just Britain and France that have nuclear weapons. Cool. So they have two NATO-aligned nations with nuclear weapons.
Along with the United States, too.
Military bases closer to their border in order to get an advantage on them in nuclear war, right? First strike capability or whatever, or first response capability, right? Am I wrong about any of this?
No.
Are you starting to see now why the NATO thing? No. So you've got two nuclear powers in Europe who are part of a
Why the NATO
coalition
thing is
that
just
includes
really
the
just a smokescreen for Putin?
second
What?
largest nuclear power. I don't know. Who has more
That doesn't even make
nukes?
sense.
I think it's pretty commensurate, right?
Like, it's definitely not a
Setting up military
smokescreen.
bases on
I mean, at this point, it's more likely that the
and shit, right up against the
CTSO is more like a fucking
It's not
smokescreen
a
at this rate
Polish
more than
military
anything.
base, it's a UN military installation. What are you talking about? A smoke screen. This is what I'm talking about. This is how no diplomacy gets done.
I mean, there's a lot of different, not just UN, but also like
What
US
Putin's
and
demands now
NATO
is demands are
aligned military
demands
bases
are-
that are in these regions.
Push back some of these NATO installations off of my borders. There should be no reason that Poland is armed to the teeth with, fucking material, like American material.
Or British or French or whatever the fuck.
Wasn't one of the like hard lines that Putin wanted was that, all right, I just want Ukraine to say it won't join the UN. Wasn't that it? Couldn't that have been
Well,
a
NATO,
way to
but
prevent who knows how many hundreds of thousands of people will die in this conflict? Hopefully it's that low. It could be millions. I don't get the perspective. It seems like a little tap dance around the question, what if, even if it wasn't nukes, China did just lined the Canadian border, 100 miles inland from the Canadian border, with a bunch of Chinese-Russian coalition military bases.
where Canada was like more in favor of those countries for some reason. Or even Mexico too. Which in a way can make more sense considering how fractured Mexico is as a state.
Please think.
It would be in a way it would be a little easier to get material there.
So yeah, I didn't want to speak out of turn, but I thought I remembered that those were chief among Putin's demands, was that Ukraine not become a part of NATO and that
Let's see if there's any updates on
NATO pull
this.
back weapons from bases on its borders. in its bordering nations.
Well, it's like a video of
I'm done. Костя, 15-й год. 15-й, блядь, ты понимаешь?
looks like they caught ammo.
Бросили этих пацанов.
Box of ammo
Так,
crates.
подними вон, смотри. 15-й год. Что там, блядь, что ты думаешь, что это хуйня какая-то?
Oh, these are food rations.
Такое. Российские солдаты, блядь, обращаюсь к вам и, наверное, вашим матерям. Какими надо
Looks like
быть
some Korean
дебилами
forces
вашим генералам, чтоб, блядь,
caught a stash and
продать армию под
food
нашими
rations.
полками. Сейчас февраль 22 года. Вы в Украине. Вы погибаете в Украине непонятно за что. И вас еще, блядь, снабжала Путин, хуйло, блядь. Ребята, идите домой. Вас тут не ждали, мы вас не просили к нам идти. Матери, заберите своих детей обратно в Россию.
Don't know what they were saying, but yeah. But it's a whole box just full of food rations. It's like, oops.
Такое.
That looks like probably looks like cigarettes. I'm seeing some cigarettes there on the right. Maybe like either packaged bread or cheese. That little cylinder can is probably like a coffee grain, probably. You know, so yeah, just a whole bunch of food rations here with some cigarettes. Some Russian tobacco, though. I'm trying to see what else is in there. Yeah, it looks like maybe some hygiene kit in there, probably. Yeah, it's just kind of a basic, general, like little field ration kit, essentially. Guy's a pretty slick AK too, not gonna lie.
Russia's neighbors are rightfully scared of them, so they joined NATO. Russia's neighbors conglomerated into a hostile force, and so Russia rightfully reacted. You see how easily you're fucking like, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be insulting, but this like base level kind of monkey brain logic, U.S. centrism, it's kind of the West is always correct centrism. It just disallows you to even think.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I really am starting to get a little bit more pissed, at people with these fucking takes like that, because it's just getting annoying.
I'm anti-war. Repudiate Putin and his actions in the Ukraine. Immediately call for a ceasefire and enter serious multilateral peace talks. I feel the same way about the NATO nations.
I mean, also just been like a couple things when I share about this type of shit, where it's just like,
And the same would be true.
I'm not like necessarily showing videos of more specific, gorier shit to them and stuff.
Wouldn't be as much
And, it's like, and sometimes every now and then I'll see my buddies be like, fuck that shit, man, show us. And it's like, no. It's like, because that's not really necessarily the most prevalent information. If you want to find it, go fucking find it yourself.
in Mexico.
You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, dude. I mean, it's just like there just is like such a weird fucking mentality about this shit, man.
So you're telling me that because the American military is bigger, that wouldn't
Shit takes our dime a dozen these days. You're telling me.
answer that question. Would that be seen as a provocation in the United States? Of course we wouldn't be happy about it. We would be livid. We would be livid about it. There would be incursions into Canada to take these things out.
And to probably even do a coup in Canada for being supportive of the governments that are allowing that.
That would never happen, though. Well, yeah, it happened in Europe. It's happened if you're a Russian. If you're a Russian, you are.
And historically, it's happened with America with the Cuban Missile Crisis. So it's just like,
hostile military.
this has once. I mean, if you want to go farther back, things like the Alamo or the Maine, Spain, when they were still an empire and shit.
The Ukraine.
Back in the early days when we were starting to flex our imperial muscle.
Putin did. It's fucking bullshit.
Remember the Maine and all that shit. So it's just like, and also that was near Cuba.
That doesn't mean.
Well, the main incident was in Cuba specifically, but
From the perspective of a Russian, why this war might be defensible. I would not feel very safe
Little
here in
bit.
the United States if I knew that China and Russia had fucking military bases.
Need to buy some more treats here tonight.
The planets don't have nuclear devices in them.
Hey, buddy.
I mean, come on, bro.
Huh?
Can we get real here for a second? Because I think that realness is what's needed for peace talks. Like, peace talks have to be somewhat empathetic to the position of Russia. They have to be. If they're not, then you may as well just cancel it right now and start calling the boots on the ground over there. It seems like a morally conflicted position.
It
It seems
is.
like a position that's lacking in empathy, and it seems like a position
It's
that's
kind of a
really
hypocritical one, too.
given up on what we know.
Because it's obvious that, we would want, like, if this type of shit was happening near our own home turf, we'd be feeling this, like, hey, we don't want, like, an escalatory of war, we want this shit to kind of fuck off and all that. Like, we feel the same. I mean, I think especially that's why there's been so much anti-war protesting and shit like that going on in Russia in the first place. Because Russian people don't want this.
I understand what you're saying, but Russia has a history.
Fundamentally, they're just pawns in all this shit. Just like everybody else.
I feel like sometimes
They're part of the more Russian sphere of the cogs of the entire machine, while at least over here, we're part of the American cogs of the machine when it comes to the global sphere of things.
I feel deliberately misunderstood and Ukraine gave up their nukes in exchange for territorial guarantees, which Russia violated, right? Russia had other demands, right? I'm not saying that they were justified, but did Russia have other demands?
Certainly.
Even if they came up with them after the fact, did Russia have other demands? Did Russia decide that it wanted something else from the Ukraine, whether it was correct or not? And what were those demands? We just talked about it earlier. The demands were that Ukraine not join NATO.
I think a part of it was also the secession of the separatist states, too.
Some of the weapons installations that I'm talking about be removed from Poland. Right? So you're telling me that there was a basis,
What are you looking at?
there was a basis for diplomacy. We had some demands and we can work back from there. Okay, look. And how destructive do you think this would have been? We'll guarantee that Ukraine does not become a NATO client state, does not become a member of NATO. Have the, with the willingness of their government, so long as Russia upholds its part of this deal and doesn't come with further demands and doesn't make further aggressive moves. Ukraine can remain a buffer state. And yeah, we're willing to dismantle a few of our missile sites in Poland.
I mean, to a certain
Do you
extent,
think
that's
that
not even
that
necessarily a
would've been more
bad
destructive
idea,
or
because
less
I know
destructive?
Zelensky's was signing a form to be a part of the EU. So it can, still gives Ukraine, the, a more open sphere of influence to the West too at that rate.
Profile pic, and he doesn't, in the same way that the United States doesn't get to dictate what Iraqis do, right? Or do they? Or Afghanis do, right? Or do they? Or Yemenis do, right? Or do they? Then the list goes on. Haven't even mentioned South American and Central American interventionalism.
And that's just a fucking, like, thick as the goddamn Bible. And growing. It's like, ooh. What time is it? Almost time for me to get going for work. Boo.
Oh yeah, the Somalis.
Not quite yet.
That's not Africa, is it?
Boo, work, I know, right? Someone else in this little chat was saying too. It's not only about NATO. This Putin's goal for a greater Russia, or a great Russian Empire that contains Ukraine. He sees himself as a messiah for the Slavic people, which is kind of true. Like a lot of this whole ultra ethnic, nationalistic, fascistic, shit that he's been doing is a part of this like broader, more far right, fascistic, pan-Slavic nationalism and shit too. So it's just like, it's pretty much, just in, like I've been saying, just a reestablishment of like this neo-Tsardom empire. And Ukraine's a part of that sphere amongst, Baltic states, Finland too, even, and all these other countries. So it's like, I mean, it's like with at least, the state, in mind, with their perspective on the shit, it is, kind of understandable how the, about what they're doing. Is it justifiable? Of course not. And again, I hope Ukraine, holds out and, continues to, make, leeway in their defenses and is able to counter and repel. But at the same time, I hope there's, as minimal as bloodshed as possible, because we don't need more of it. I mean, because we don't need to just have war, period, anymore at this rate. But here, I'm going to check out the live view one more time to see if it will pop back online. And be okie dokie, so we can kind of see ballet it. But it doesn't look like it is. Of course. Man, I hope the live UA map comes back online at some point today, because I was only able to kind of skim around a little bit to see some updates, and there definitely were, but now it's just going to be quiet. Yeah, still fucked up. And oh my god, these ads are like gauntletly like ear rape loud in comparison to anything else that's played. Fuck, dude, I hate it. Ugh. Alright, anyway. Does Bandit like to show you his butt? I mean, he's a cat. Cats do that. Yeah, there's... Yeah, the live viewing map is still down. Ugh. The Noco network is live.
The action-packed morning in Ukraine in relation to some of the developments that have happened over the past 6 to 12 hours. We'll be covering those talks that were supposed to take place near Belarus. We're going to keep an eye on the aircraft situation. Right now we're watching this unmanned surveillance drone here. We believe it to be U.S. Army. I forgot the exact designation on that. Graybird, I believe, is the one. It's a surveillance drone, and they've been seen to use the same exact hexagonal flight pattern that we're seeing here now on screen. They are obviously keeping an eye on something here on the ground in Poland. This could just be some kind of testing that they could be doing here. However, it looks more likely that maybe they are keeping an eye on something, and we're going to be keeping an eye on them to see what they are looking at. If our guys over there in the flight radar want to maybe look into this more, so that when we start bringing the reporting, I can give you guys some information on that, by all means, send that information over to me. Grey Eagle, it's an attack/surveillance drone, roger that. Oh yeah, where is D-Trude? D-Trude, sound off in the Twitch chat, man. Okay, there you are. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to do that. Excuse me.
So we got a surveillance drone in Poland a little bit.
There we go. D-Trude, thank you so much for tuning back in, man. Glad to have you here.
It's kind of dark as fuck out there right now.
But yeah, glad to have you back. I believe S-Visuals was our other mod. If you happen to be watching S-Visuals...
Yeah, but it looks like it's kind of quiet there at the moment, aside from the surveillance drone shit. Looking at something. It's kind of interesting to check out the flight radars and stuff, because that kind of adds a little interesting perspective of, different things that are going on, too. But anyway, get the last little bit of this bowl smoked out. Oh, I'm curious enough, it is 420 right now. head off to work. Hopefully, there'll be updates in the live UA map. It's good. You're running again. And all that fun shit. But, anyway. In the meantime, peace out. And I'll be all back in the next one.